Hello everyone, it is your favorite man-made disaster Keki here, and it's pretty obvious to most people that I like Ginger Ninja OWO. I mean, I've been a fan of June since their part in that Steven Universe map like 7 years ago, and I'm always excited for a new upload. Okay, so I'm a fan. Why bring this up now, you may ask? Well, if anyone else is a fan like I am, you've probably guessed that a lot of the non-MCYT videos I make are inspired and heavily riff off of June's videos, except for the RL Craft video. So when June finally came out with their newest video, the part 2 of Prism as Other Magical Girls, I was so inspired to do it for my own magical OCs because I'm an original and I kinda didn't want to work on another animated moments at the moment. For those who aren't aware about the magical OCs I mentioned earlier, I feel like I've talked way too much about them on my live streams, but I guess I'll be recapping this for all the people who don't watch them. At Earth's End is a story that I've been developing for several years now, and was some of the first original characters I had ever created. The planet Pavzon is currently divided by light and shadow, making war break out between the two sides, and has continued its physical and mental carnage through each generation. Rain is a resident of this planet, as well as a general in the light capital of Karis. She's sent on a mission to Earth to find an escaped convict that could help turn the tides of the war while getting into some hijinks along the way. Now, the only thing that's different between my series and June's series, besides Prism being way better, but that's not the point, is that their cast of characters are mostly female presenting or non-binary, which works well for magical girl shows. However, I've got two manly men on my team, so I ended up straying away from canon in most of the shows just a teeny bit so I can include my voice preferences. But Keki, if they aren't mostly girls, it's not a magical girl comic, now is it? Well, yes and no. You see, these characters and the general plot of the darn thing in the beginning was based on this little cartoon called Star vs. the Forces of Evil. It's not a magical girl show per se, but it is definitely magical girl inspired. It has a lot of the same concepts as Star, and Rain's obscene fashion is based off of Star's dresses in the show. Devin is a Marco parallel, and we cannot forget the relationship drama. But I am getting off track. They are all magical girls because I said so, and Rain is the main character, so ha! I've got 5 characters that I classify as the main cast, so let's get into some quick introductions before we jump into it. Rain Fort Royal is our main character and first magical girl. As an alien from a planet that is vastly different to Earth, she has a hard time adjusting to her new surroundings. Devin Loverall is our second lead and one of the 2 magical boys in the main cast. He is seen as kinda edgy and, bad to the other students.
We shouldn't talk to them. They're bad. I know.
And it causes him to be outcasted until Rain comes along and starts living in his house due to circumstances beyond his control. Nicole Archer is our third magical girl, and she looks up to Devin before becoming friends with him. That's basically all I have. Lexin Fort Royal, no familiar relationship to Rain Fort Royal, is our second and last magical boy in the cast and is from the same planet as Rain. As her best Pavzonian friend, he is a hardworking and trustworthy guy who used to see the good in everything, at least until he was drafted into the war. And lastly, Chrissy Lucent. She is your resident crystal witch that resides on Pavzon's dark side, and she wishes to fight the greater evil at play so the planet's balance can be restored. I've chosen 4 different magical girl shows that I love and left out the ones that wouldn't really make sense in universe to put my kids into. Sorry, Sakura, you'll have to be put aside for now. Alrighty, let go. First on the chopping block is the most recognizable of the shows that I picked, Madoka Magica. I love this show to bits. Well, okay, I love any magical girl show, but especially this one for its subversion of my expectations when I first watch it. In Madoka Magica, you get to make a wish, could be literally anything, and in return you get a soul gem that allows you to transform so you can fight these creatures known as witches. These witches aren't exactly your stereotypical big hats and broomstick witches, but are these Photoshop monstrosities that are genuinely pretty freaky. Getting back on track, there are some general rules when it comes to the outfits and soul gems for each girl. The soul gem almost always matches the character's eye color, and that usually dictates what the overall color scheme is of each character. And from what I saw in my research, the girl's outfit or weapons call back to the wish they made in one way or another. I already knew about the Madoka Magica phone game and like the 50 some odd characters in the franchise already, so I thought making designs for my characters would be simple enough, but I was about to start drawing them for the video, and then I remembered, crap, I have no clue what I'm doing. I need to figure out their wishes and junk first. So, let's start off with Rain. In the Madoka universe, I feel as though her backstory would stay essentially the same, except no war, because duh. Her parents fight and argue with each other when they're together, and it was the whole reason she became a knight in the first place in the original. It goes deeper than that, but I really can't get into it because this video would be like 3 hours long. Rain's wish would probably be to have people listen to her, since her parents and people at school would ignore her for being too cold or gloomy, or in her parents' case, because they didn't want to acknowledge that she was a product of them in the first place. I also noticed that each magical girl gets a power along with their weapons, so I made Rain's power a form of mind control, I guess? Like, she could sway the person's mind for a period of time so they only focus on her or something of that sort. Her soul gem is a diamond on her tie, and her weapon is a big old attention-grabbing whip. I made her outfit kind of based on a matador because of the whole whip thing, and she's got the cropped coat and asymmetrical decorated shoulder and those long socks with the flats because I am not drawing her in those capris. Trust me, I tried it. They don't work. You'll just have to take my word for this one. Devin starts the trend of me breaking the rules because there are no male characters in Madoka Magica that aren't love interests. So I had to really try and justify myself with the character design choices. Most people I asked about what Devin's wish would be said that he'd probably wish for his mom back. His mom is dead, by the way, but I feel like Devin already knows and accepts the fact that his mom is dead and she's not coming back. I thought about it, and I think Devin's wish would be something along the lines of he would wish for his younger sister to have a good and happy life. Devin's younger sister Daisy isn't someone I've talked about a lot, but she's really important to Devin's character growth in like every universe I put him in. But I can't really get into Daisy's backstory without going into major spoiler territory, so she will remain a mystery for now. For Devin's power, I named it Encouragement, and any person that he, well, encourages gets a substantial power boost, whether it be physical or magical. As for his weapon, I think it is pretty shaky reasoning even for my standards, but just hear me out on this one. I was looking up objects or symbols that represent happiness since that's what his wish was. A brief Google search later, I saw that dragonflies are associated with happiness for some reason, so I guess I went with it. His weapon is this smart backpack that he can extend dragonfly-like wings out to fly, as well as just being generally technologically advanced. Since from what I read, dragonflies are also seen as a sign of wisdom and are calculated creatures. And his soul gem is a little circle on the clasp of his smart bag. Lexon was the last of the boys, so I could just break the rules in one fatal swoop, and his wish is, you guessed it, angsty. His character hasn't been shown yet in my comic. Okay, well, a lot of these characters haven't been shown, but whatever. So not many people know who he is. Lexon, as mentioned prior, is Rain's best friend on Pavzon and her second in command of her army of Imperial soldiers in Karis. What people don't know is that Lexon comes from a noble family and is the heir to his father, the Viscount of the territory of Tel, which is pretty close to Karis. He was drafted for reasons that would take way too long to explain in this video, but suffices to say it's Lexon's mother's, Layla's, fault. And surprise, surprise, she's not his real mom. This ties into his wish in the Madoka AU, where he wishes for his mother to be as gentle and as caring as his real mom. Not to be confused or anything, his real mom is very much still alive, she just got kicked out because of Layla. His power would be something like calming, where he could use it to stop the enemy from wanting to fight or something like that. For his weapon, I tried to think about objects that are calming, and the only thing that came up when I searched calming objects on Google besides glass were these paper fans. And then I remembered back to the 2012 version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, please stay with me, and that version of April had these metal fans that she fought with. I think they're called Tessen, although that's probably not how you say it. I gave him a generally Asian-inspired outfit to match the weapons, and his soul gem is a lightning bolt attached to his, waist cummerbund thing. I don't know what you'd call that. Nicole was up next, and her wish was super easy. See, Nicole is kind of in the same boat as Lexin. She's the heir to her family's archery legacy that has been going on for generations, which explains the very on-the-dot last name because it was the family's title before it was the last name, blah, 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 whatever, who cares. The only problem is she really sucks at archery, and a lot of her knowledge is limited because she really doesn't care about being the heir. I mean, at least not anymore. She used to care, and I think that's when this Madoka AU would focus on. She desperately wanted to be enough for her parents and family, and made her wish to effortlessly live up to her family's expectations of her. Her power is aptly named Prodigy, which makes her good at anything her parents and family believe she should be good at. For her outfit inspo, I tried to look up archery outfits, like the thing Olympic archers wear for competitions, but they don't really have a dress code, and I really didn't want to put her in a polo shirt, so I went for the obviously elvish / huntsman vibe that's usually associated with archery. She's got a bow as her weapon because duh, and her soul gem is a teardrop on her cape. I already knew that Chrissy was going to give me problems from the start because she was the one that I literally had 0 things written down for. Like, I knew her purpose within the story, but she didn't really have like an in-depth backstory like everyone else. So Chrissy, wake up! No relation, having literally nothing for me to go on, had the most unstable wish in my opinion in the beginning. In the original universe, she'd been ravaged by wars that she was from Pabzon's dark side, so her wish would be to survive, but that doesn't really fit Madoka's AU too well. Thinking up wishes for all of my characters was really freaking hard, actually. So I went to the Madoka wiki to look at the Magia Record characters to see what their wishes were to give me a little inspo. And oh my gosh, there were so many to look at. I think I spent like 2 hours just looking through the wiki and taking notes on it. And here's what I came up with. Chrissy was caught in a witch attack before she became a magical girl and saw firsthand how terrifying these creatures actually were. She then came in contact with Kyubey, who told her that she could run into a witch again if she wasn't careful. Chrissy had a feeling that she might, die if she got caught in another attack, so she wished to be something as powerful as a witch in order to not get hurt by them. For her power, she's basically your token witch with powers that I think would act similarly to Merlin from the Sword in the Stone movie, if you've seen that. She dons a classic witch outfit with a broom as her weapon, and her soul gem is a 4-pointed star at the end of her hat. Madoka Magica is a great show that I highly recommend if you haven't seen it yet. And with that, the drawing is finished. I ended up really liking how they all turned out, even if I did break the rules a tiny bit for Devin and Lexin, but that's not really important right now, I guess. Anyway, on to the next one. The next show is something that I've talked a lot about on my channel before. Next is Shugo Chara. I've already explained in my pager draw video that this was the first anime that I ever watched and I loved it. Sure, it's not without its flaws now that I'm old enough to see them. Age gap! But it's still something that I rewatch for nostalgia if for nothing else. In Shugo Chara, all characters have an egg that hatches into the person they want to be, and that person or guardian character is usually linked to a profession. I say usually because there are the exceptions like the constant bride Karas and of course Ikto's Kara being a literal cat for some reason. Coming up with professions for my kids again put me in the same ditch I was in for the Madoka AU, which kind of sucked. Rain was the one I thought the most about, so I decided that her profession would be a teacher, since she really likes taking charge and leading people who are willing to listen. All of the character transformations in the show have kinda over-the-top outfits to match the vibe of the Guardian, but I didn't really know what Rain's outfit should look like since teachers don't really have a specific uniform. I went through a handful of beta designs, asking several of my mutuals on Twitter and people I know IRL. That was until my roommate brought up Victorian-era teachers and their outfits, so I decided to make a rough of that. Got some feedback, and now bam, she's a Victorian-style teacher. I gave her a high-low skirt with pants underneath for easy mobility while fighting, and her top is reminiscent of Victorian blouses that had a lot of ruffles and whatnot. I gave her a brooch of the earth on her neck and what I think is an ascot, could be wrong, as well as some cute protractor earrings. The protractors on her back are supposed to mimic a large bow, didn't work, and the hem of her skirt is made to look like a ruler. Devin was another character that I kinda thought was too plain, but his design kinda grew on me. I made his career an engineer and almost immediately ran into the same problem I had with Rain because engineers don't really have any specific outfits. I ended up putting him in overalls again, I'm sorry, and kept it kinda similar to his Madoka design. The only couple differences being his shoes that are more like dress shoes now, since that's what I saw most engineers wearing in the pictures I looked up, and his long electrical gloves to round out the black in his design. I also notably gave him a hard hat as well as a tool belt for whatever he might need when he's fighting. As for his role in this AU, there's an organization or club in the original universe. It's kind of like a student council called the Guardians that have 5 seats that correspond to the main 5 positions in a deck of cards. I feel as though Devon is a part of the Guardians and takes the role of the king's servant, the Jack's chair. As for the king he serves, well, I don't really know. I don't really have any more characters that I could shuffle into the king's chair except for Lexon, but that comes after his reformation. Speaking of Lexon, Lexon's profession was something that I really couldn't decide on because I wasn't quite sure what he would want to be. I thought through a couple ideas, but thinking back to the main story, all he wants to do is be free from the grasp of his mother's controlling hand. I draw Lexon with this little bluebird a lot because I imagine that Lexon is close to like an archetypal Disney princess and all animals love him for some reason, so I went with the same route that Shugo Chara's own Ikto has. He wants to be a free spirit, and thus he looks like a bird. I feel as though in-universe Lexon would be most likely to get an X-egg, since I think that Layla is still the main antagonist. By the way, an X-egg is what a normal heart's egg turns into if the person decides to give up on their dreams. There's a lot more that I've thought about that I can't get into now, but just know that it's still angsty, as it should be for Lexon. I also got inspo from rock bands and the general free bad boy kind of trope, with his leather jacket and ripped shirt. This is where I started to really lean into the more wild designs like the show has. I gave him more feathers on his shoulders and pants, as well as these massive platform shoes that remind me of a lot of the band Kiss, if you know what that is. I also gave him these bird wing cloth things on his back. Like, if you went on Pinterest and searched up crochet wings, you'll find them like no problem. Nicole's profession is an archer, if that wasn't obvious already, but I decided that her official profession would be an Olympic athlete. I put her in this mix between an athletic jacket and tennis dress and gave her these long socks to go with it. When I looked up Olympic archers for the Madoka drawing, I noticed that most, if not all of them, have this plastic chest protector thing. I think it's used to protect the athlete's chest from bow recoil, but I could be wrong. So she's got one of those on. Honestly, Nicole is probably my least favorite out of this batch since she's kind of the most plain, but I digress. For her part in the story, I think Nicole would actually want to be the heir of her family in contrast to her original universe. She would strive hard in her academics and eventually get offered to join the Guardians as the new Ace's chair. I'd say that she joins about the same time as Rain does, but I still can't say for certain if Rain is actually going to fulfill Amu's role as the Joker chair. For now though, we'll just say that Rain and Nicole join together, and no one has 3 Karas because Rain might have main character energy, but not that much main character energy. Thank you very much. Chrissy's occupation is a fortune teller, and she takes the role of the Guardian's Queen chair. Her role in the story would most likely be that of the team leader until Rain comes along and fills some role in the Guardians, I guess. I feel like in this AU, Chrissy is really interested in the occult or something of that sort, so a lot of people fear her, but they also respect that she seems to be the real brains behind the Guardians rather than the quote-unquote face man. I'd also like to think that Chrissy is maybe a year or 2 older than everyone else in the Guardians, so that her leadership status can really shine through in the beginning. Her clothing gave me trouble because no matter how much I googled fortune teller outfits, all that came up seemed, I don't know, mildly offensive, so I tried looking into the origin of fortune tellers to maybe get a hint as to an idea, but no dice. So back to the first Google search, I tried to come up with a design that wasn't as costumey as Google would lead you to believe. She's got a little head wrap and shawl as well as some cork sandals and a crystal ball. I'm aware that there are many different ways of fortune telling, however for Chrissy, I thought that this version with crystal divination suited her the best. These designs were tough to iron out and took up way more time than I ever thought they would, so let's move on to an anime that requires less brain power, at least for the designs, that is. Ojamajo Doremi is our 3rd magical girl anime. This show completely slipped under my radar until like a couple months ago when I watched the majority of it and loved it. Ojamajo Doremi, or Magical Doremi in English, is a show where witches exist. If you were somehow able to discover a witch's identity, the witch would turn into a witch frog, which is this thing, and would make you their apprentice in order for you to break the curse. Each girl gets something called a tap that allows them to transform and do magic. If you don't finish putting on the outfit that appears within the allotted time or within the duration of the song that plays, the outfit disappears and the transformation is cancelled. So basically, if Boppet and Musical Chairs had a child. The transformation also comes with a magic wand called a poron that holds magic spheres in them, allowing the girls to actually perform magic. These spheres don't actually get replenished though, so their magic is limited by their wallets. They are 3rd graders. Let's just let that sink in there. I knew that this drawing had to be in a chibi style since I tried drafting the outfits on my rough models and it looked awful, so chibi it is. The style change aside, there really isn't much to say for their outfits. All the witch apprentices have the same outfits and taps, just in their respective colors. Their outfits have these weirdo skirts that resemble flower petals and are layered 3 ways to Sunday. The witches also have these pointy witch shoes and classic witch hats to round out their outfits. I guess I accidentally gave all 3 of them the main character porons, so oops on my part, I guess. As for regular porons, well, you guys remember those screaming tubes from your childhood? Yeah, they look like that. The difference was actually with the boys. You see, witches can only be female in this universe, so the boys are made into wizards. The wizards are honestly kinda underwhelming in the show since they only show up for like 1 arc and there are like 25 of them in their entire realm. The only wizards that seem to be in the same age range as our main characters all match outfit-wise with their white cuffs and weird coats, so again, nothing extraordinary there. The outfits kind of resemble this Vietnamese dress called an ao dai. I think that's how you pronounce it. At least that's how it looks to me. They also have these antenna hair things that wave when they perform magic instead of wands or something of the sort, so I made sure to give my boys that as well. Also, if you haven't noticed yet, each one of my characters have a specific color designated to them, and before this video I always thought that Rain was red, but I ended up putting most of her designs in blue for some reason. I guess that's due to her eyes being blue, which is the case for literally everyone except for Chrissy. I actually debated on changing Chrissy's eye color from pink to purple, but I'm too attached to them being pink, so she just gets to be special. I did change her hair color to be slightly more purple than black, but that's about it. Lexin is also technically another color rule breaker. I ended up giving Lexin a variation of his regular character outfit's color scheme by giving him a red coat instead of a yellow one to match his eyes. Going back to the story of Ojamajo Doremi, there isn't really a main antagonist, at least not from what I can remember when watching it. The show is more slice of life than anything else, with the occasional witch exam or trial, so I decided to cut my villain some slack and let her see the light, for lack of a better phrase. I thought about it, and Layla was the only character I could see being Majorika's replacement. Majorika is the witch that the main character Doremi finds out the identity of and becomes the 3 main characters' master, employer, and resident witch frog. So, instead of being the villain, Layla gets to be a witch frog! Yay! Anyway, I feel as though my AU's progression would be just about the same except for probably no magic rose baby. I hate that magic rose baby. I don't know what it is, but I just do not like her. Maybe it's the head. I'm not sure. I'm switching topics a lot, but I really can't talk about this show without gushing about how catchy the transformation jingles are. Except for the first one, which kind of gives me Disneyland teacups trauma, but anyway. I can't decide if Sharp or Moto is my favorite jingle since they're both so catchy. The show also tackles some things that I definitely was not ready to see in a show like this, such as absent parents, language barriers, motherhood, sex ed, racism, and even death, which was surprising. When I tell you I was shocked to see these themes being addressed by these 3rd graders, It is a massive understatement to say that I am shocked, okay? Like, these girls are constantly keeling over in front of their loved ones and people of that sort so much that I keep thinking that every season or renewal just ends with one or all of the main girls dying and reviving somehow. I'm not really sure, is that just a me thing? I haven't actually watched all the series, let alone know if there's a manga to this dang thing since my school was dumping classwork on me at 3 times speed, so I'm not really sure how it ends. I'll have to end up doing that eventually, I guess. This has literally nothing to do with the drawing, and oh look, it's finished, so yippee! I guess. Though the designs were simple, this drawing was so much fun, and I didn't really have a least favorite in this group, so little victories, I guess. With that said, let's move on to our final Magical Girl show of the video. The last show is Lolirock. Sure, it's not an anime per se, but it is definitely Magical Girl inspired, and if Ginger Ninja can pass Miraculous off as a Magical Girl show, then I can pass Lolirock. Lolirock is a French animated TV show that goes as follows. Each main character is a princess from an alien planet who are able to transform into a magical fighting uniform. Pretty standard Magical Girl stuff. These Magical Girls rely on spells that are mostly crystal based and don't necessarily need their batons or staffs to do basic magic. Each princess also goes through something called Shanilla, which is essentially a power boost, but it doesn't really matter since the only person actually shown to have a Shanilla form is the main character Iris. The only other thing of note is that on Earth, the 3 main girls are in a band called Lolirock.
Roll credits.
And every episode ends with them performing a song at a concert. All the characters' outfits match pretty well with slight differences depending on each girl. The most common of these matching features being the flowy transparent fabric, the layered skirts, painted nails, asymmetrical earrings, and some good old safety shorts, because modesty is hottesty, guys. The best part about the rules regarding these transformations is that the girls' hair has to match their overall color scheme, so all the girls have these brightly colored heads of hair that are just stupidly long. I decided to switch up the colors and put Rain in red this time around. I almost put her in blue again, but then I figured red would be a nice callback to Iris's pink transformation in the actual show, since Rain is supposed to be our main character. Besides, getting rid of Rain's iconic red hair at this point would feel like I'm committing a hate crime on her. I feel as though the story would be generally the same as Lolirock, with Rain filling Iris's role as the Lost Princess and using her magic to lay the Justice Hammer on our main antagonist. You'll never guess who that is. I am so predictable. Nicole kept her original teal color like she has in all her designs, even though her eyes technically shouldn't match her outfit and hair color, but whatever. I figured she should take on a more confident role in this AU since they're all supposed to be princesses and celebrities. And that's celebrities with big floating air quotes over it, since no one really seems to care that these characters are in this mega famous band that can literally fill out a stadium that looks as big as the Rose Bowl until the plot demands it. I think she'd fill out Ariana's role, except less of a ditz, since that type of character can get old pretty fast. Chrissy takes on Talia's role and seems to be the more straightforward one of the team. I wouldn't say her backstory is the same as Talia's, what with Talia having a sister who fakes her death and ends up leading the resistance against Greymore, just to distinguish my character from Lolirock canon and not have them be stand-ins. This is an alternate universe after all. Her Lolirock backstory would probably be similar to her actual backstory in At Earth's End, but instead of staying on the planet to fight, she's sent away to hide since she's a princess in Lolirock. Other than the backstory, Talia and Chrissy are actually pretty similar personality-wise when I started to think more about it, and seem to be the voice of reason when all things get a bit too crazy. Maybe there could be an episode where fame gets to their heads and Chrissy is the one to bring everyone back down to Earth, whether that be metaphorically or literally. Maybe it could be a spell that's caused by the villains of the AU. Speaking of villains, segue to talking about the boys of the crew. Oh my gosh, that rhymed. I was expecting that one. I decided to go a different route with both Lexin and Devon, which is kind of a shame since I think that Devon would have made a fantastic magic princess. I decided to make Lexin fit into one of the villain roles. There are two side villains that work under the main baddie Greymore named Praxina and Mephisto. They work under Greymore for some reason that is literally never explained, but in Lexin's case, it'd make much more sense for him to fill one or both of those roles if Layla filled in for Greymore. Yeah. Wow. I'm so original. Layla's the bad guy again. Who'da thunk? I made his outfit similar to Mephisto's rather than Praxina's for pretty obvious reasons, making sure to keep Lexin's lightning bolt motif in his overcoat. I feel like if it's necessary for Praxina's role to be filled, then I'll add in another character that I haven't really talked about yet. His name is Number 6 and he is one of the antagonists of At Earth's End. In the beginning at least. He fills the second spot nicely except for the fact that he and Lexin aren't related at all, but it's an AU so who cares? Devin is last, and he got stuck with one of the most boring roles, and I kind of feel really bad about it, so I changed up his involvement to feel slightly better about it. Devin takes over Nathaniel's role, who is the main love interest. Nathaniel doesn't really do anything other than go on meaningless dates with Iris, get captured or held hostage every once in a while, and works at the smoothie bar so the writers have an excuse not to put him in episodes. He gets his memories wiped more than once, and just seems to be there for the sake of boy drama, so Devin, in this AU, gets to be way more than just the love interest. Don't get me wrong, he's still a love interest, but is better friends with the girls and doesn't get his memories wiped when he finds out their secret. Instead, he helps the girls despite his lack of magical abilities, so the whole misunderstanding trope that I absolutely despise does not happen. His outfit in this is similar to his regular design, but with elements taken from Nathaniel's basic outfit as well. And oh my gosh, that's everyone. Well, that is like a collective 2 weeks that I'll never get back. These took so long to draw and shade, and condensing this video down so that it's more watchable literally killed me. So all in all, I am glad it's over. If you want to see more of these characters, I can link the original webcomic, but I really don't recommend it since it doesn't really reflect what I have in store for the characters, as this video is probably a testament to. I occasionally post these characters along with all my other multi-fandom art on all the social medias I own. Links will be in the description. Also, for those of you who aren't aware, I have a Patreon now! I started it a little while ago, and I've been posting this video's works in progress and behind the scenes junk there, so check it out! $3 a month gets you access to all my content early, as well as special Discord server perks, and $10 a month gets you all that and your name read or typed at the end of my videos. Link is in the description. Thank you guys so much for your support as I continue to branch out my content. I know these types of videos aren't what the majority of you want, but I really hope that most of you guys came to my channel for the MCYT and ended up staying for me. Anyway, that's it for me. Thanks for watching, and... right. Merry Christmas, guys! This is so gonna date the video.